It was only a matter of time before I realized that the family court system is not a court for families. It's anything but that. What I encountered was a system that seemed designed to strip people of their dignity while little regard for the justice or well-being of the children caught in the middle. There was no due process to speak of, just a relentless march towards bankruptcy, with one parent systemically pushed out of the child's life. Now, this is a harsh reality I had to face. I wouldn't have believed it 2 years ago. If you would have told me that any court in America could treat a citizen with such disregard for their constitutional rights, I would have dismissed it out of hand. I would have assumed that there was something wrong with you, your lawyer, or your case. But the truth is, I've met probation officers, city councilors, former candidates for Senate. I met Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, Independents. I have met the rich and I have met the poor, and it has all been consistent. I had faith in this system and the idea that justice in America, while not perfect, was at least fair. But some oppressions you have to endure to truly understand, because exposure is the greatest teacher. Have you ever sat in a courthouse and watched a grown man cry, realizing that the child he once had unlimited access to will now only see him in snapshots every other weekend? Have you seen a mother distraught and faced with insurmountable pain because her husband decided to trade her in for a younger secretary, elevating himself to a position where he can now alienate her from their child? For some, this is how the system works, a cold, calculated process that leaves families in ruins. For others, this is simply unacceptable. I used to think that these stories were exaggerated, that the courts were there to protect and to serve. But after my own experience, I know better now. I've seen the way the system grinds people down, how it disregards the emotional and financial toll it takes on families. It's a machine that chews up the lives of the people it's supposed to serve, leaving them with little more than shattered dreams and broken relationships. It's a system that desperately needs reform. We can't keep allowing it to destroy lives under the guise of justice. It's not even consistent in all 50 states. In Texas, you have a right to a jury. In Massachusetts, you do not. In some states, you have 50-50 presumption. In others, you do not. Families deserve better. Parents deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. And most importantly, children deserve to have both parents in their lives without the state playing favorites. I now find myself in a fight of my own for the rights of parents and the integrity of our family court system. To realize that when the founders created this system, they didn't have a family court in mind, but we do. I believe that ordinary people are the only ones that can achieve the impossible. But it's only when they dare to stand up for what's right. On August 28th, 2024, 50 50,000 men will march on Washington. Not to talk about anything, but to demand one thing: parental rights. Exactly 1 month after the 61st anniversary of the historic March on Washington, fathers are coming together to declare that the idea of any government playing a role in the dissolution of families is unacceptable. We live in a country where the power of the government is fueled and awarded by the consent of the governed. And yet, I must articulate in plain words that our silence on the matters has been taken as acceptance. That we have somehow agreed that this is acceptable, but it is not. Our silence has been taken. The men who will march in Washington are not just marching for themselves. They are marching for their children, for their families, and for the generation to come. This march is about reclaiming our rights, about telling the government that we, the people, will not allow our families to be destroyed in the name of policy or profit. The March on Washington in 2024 will echo the calls of justice that were made 61 years ago. But this time, the focus is on the family. It is on the right of every child to be born in this country and have access to both parents in their lives without interference from a system that has lost its way. This is a march for the future, for the idea that families should be supported, not torn apart. That men that will be remembered, not because of the speeches, but because of the silence that breaks. A silence that has allowed this injustice to exist for far too long. The true cost of systemic failure isn't just the loss of jobs or the decline of communities. It's the broken families, the children who grow up without stability, the men that turn to violence for the attaboy of their peer group and other men in the community from that absent father. It is the emotional scars that last a lifetime. And that is something we cannot and must not accept. We're asking you to help spread the word about the 50,000 parents who will be marching on Washington, D.C. on August 28th. The goal is simple: to draw awareness to our proposal for a 28th Amendment to enshrine forever parental rights as a fundamental civil right in the United States Constitution, to be protected for this generation and those afar off. That when America is 348 years old, a whole 100 years later, no one would ever have to think if their constitutional rights will be upheld in any court in this country. On September 28th, 2024, we go out onto the National Mall, not in an effort to do anything but demonstrate fatherly love. It is time for America to know that we, the parents, have something important to say.